The constituency of Dover and Deal is more than just custom sheds and symbolic white cliffs. There are 6,000 jobs which depend on the harbour alone, and doubts over the proposed Channel Tunnel still haven't dispelled fears of redundancy.
That was a year after the UK joined the European Union. We are now just 4 weeks away from making our departure complete. The challenges of making that break loom ever larger. Questions remain unanswered. The cake and eat it optimism of 2016 feels a long time ago.
One of the interesting things of the last 4 years and this sort of never-ending Brexit saga has been the way we went for a situation where everyone was discussing single market, customs union, what kind of Brexit, to now where the deal that is going to be signed, if it is signed, is very, very hard on that soft to hard Brexit spectrum. Very limited cooperation, nothing on foreign policy, very little we expect on services, a minimal free trade deal in goods with a few add-ons, which is very much the hard Brexit end of that spectrum.
We still don't know on what basis we'll be trading with our largest partner from January. But looking up from the minutiae of negotiations over fish quotas and level playing fields, one thing seems pretty clear. In the tension between the UK's immediate economic interests and its ability to chart an independent path, it's sovereignty overall that has come out on top. That doesn't mean, though, that there aren't important differences between getting a trade deal and leaving transition without one. There are. Whichever road the UK takes, there are big changes ahead for what happens at our customs and borders. There would be no tariff-free trade without a deal, with export duties of 10% on cars or 40% on lamb, say. A deal would remove those. Paperwork-free won't fly with no deal, with an expected 5-fold jump to 270 million customs declarations and export health certificates needed for food and animal products. That would likely be the same with a deal. In fact, businesses may need to navigate more red tape on rules of origin to qualify for tariff-free trade. But an agreement could also mean scope for simplification. And the days of no border checks are also numbered. Customs and health checks will be needed with or without a deal. But again, an agreement could reduce the burden.
I think a number of companies still think, and not only companies, but people in general think that a deal will provide frictionless trade. This is not the case. Whether we get a deal or not, we'll still have paperwork at the border. So we'll still have customs declarations and customs formalities and related checks. We're laying the tracks again in front of a moving train, and the train is moving very fast, and the deadline is approaching, and we still don't have everything we need to be ready.
The real value of even a basic free trade deal, though, may come elsewhere. Customs cooperation under a deal could mean phasing in of requirements, information sharing, or perhaps even more time to get ready. Other agreements outside a trade deal on financial services or data, say, could also make for a smoother adjustment. And while the Northern Ireland Protocol comes into force with or without a deal, a trade deal should make it easier to implement. There is now real concern coming from some business and trade groups. I've seen a letter from 3 weeks ago from the British Ports Association to Michael Gove highlighting what they call an alarming lack of urgency from some parts of government and warning of a severe impact on trade, particularly in food. 4 weeks until a new chapter of UK trading history. A deal is hanging in the balance, and still calls are mounting for a grace period or adjustment period to allow more time to adapt. How many more weeks will it take to pin down how our relationship with the EU is really going to work?
Helen Thomas there. We put this to the Cabinet Office, who told us they are making significant preparations, including investing £705 million in jobs, technology and infrastructure at the border, and will implement border controls in stages so that traders have time to prepare. Now, in a moment, I'll talk to the politicians. Bruno Bonnell, member of the French National Assembly for President Macron's En Marche party, and Conservative MP and long-time Brexit supporter Peter Bone. But first, John Shirley, the founder of an international freight forwarding company. John, you've been 28 years in the business there in Dover, 27 days now until this new fundamental system in how we trade. Are we ready? Why aren't we ready if we're not ready?
Well, how can we put it? We in the freight forwarding industry, we thought, well, it's going to be really difficult. It's going back to 1992. It's imposing all sorts of red tape. It's going to strangle the economy. But we thought, well, maybe we could, have enough time to get prepared and get things in place, pay maybe double or triple the foreign hauliers that basically bring all our cargo in by road and take out all our cargo by road. 99% of that cargo is on foreign hauliers. So if you remember, a couple of years ago, there were some people saying, I'd rather eat grass than be in Europe. And then there was a group of MEPs who turned their backs on the European anthem. So what's going to happen? Well, those hauliers are turning their tail lights on Britain. They have decided they're not going to put up with coming to this country and sitting for weeks in customs formalities, phytosanitary certificates, and they are not coming. They have told myself and my colleagues they are not coming here after Christmas. This is very alarming. We're wrong-footed by this.
But John, surely this is a temporary thing. Surely, there'll be some ripples over Christmas and things will work themselves out after a few weeks or a few months.
No, either you're in a customs union or you're not. No, we deal with Belarus, we deal with Albania, we deal with Serbia. Either you're in the customs union or you're not. I can show you an email. We just did a job recently of shoeboxes for the poor children in the orphanages in Belarus. The haulier sent the bill and it said truck was 5 days at customs. This is the reality. I'm telling you actual customs at the moment. And if you talk to a driver, you come down to Dover, I'll show you round the port, and you can talk to any driver there and you ask them, how long does it take to get in and out of the EU? And they will tell you between 5 and 10 hours.
OK, well, John, we'll come back to you in a minute. Let's roll this over to the politicians. Bruno Bernal, what's kind of gone wrong? We thought a deal was in the offing, could have been done, should have been done by today. What's changed this week?
You know, I've been warning for months about the fact that being hard in the negotiation and never stopping the idea of hard Brexit as a threat would end up with a very difficult situation. What is happening now is that devil is in the details. And what the English side of the negotiation is willing to do is to cherry pick the trade, discussions. So basically they want to sit on the fence, but you can't. We respect the decision, the sovereign decision of the UK people to go for a Brexit. So they have to choose one side of the fence. And you can't be on both sides.
But they've chosen they want a Canada-style deal, a distant deal, a basic free trade agreement. That's exactly. The choice is pretty clear, isn't it? And why are you demanding that things should stay close in order to protect your industries?
Because the condition of those deals is basically that England would like to see the same rules that are governed. We just heard the person, driving trucks, and he said, well, if we could stay with the 5 hours instead of 5 days at the border, nothing would change, it'd be cool. But no, if you're not part of the EU, the rules are effectively changing.
Okay, we've heard these arguments before, but with respect, what has changed this week? And is it the intervention, as we hear, of your government on this issue of fish, making over-the-top, last-minute pleas for fishing to be ongoing for years to come in our waters?
I don't think that our government is tougher than any other government. We heard this on many of your newspaper. I think that Europe is basically protecting itself, saying that we believe that it's more important to respect our rules in Europe with the size of this continent rather than just going into a war. Because if we don't show that exiting Europe has a price on both sides, by the way, it's not fun for the for EU as well, right?
Peter,
but if we
let
don't
me bring
show
in Peter Bone here. But Peter Bone, this is the moment when the German car makers and the Italian wine producers would come to the rescue. They're not coming, are they?
Well, I listened to your report earlier, and it seemed to be there was quite a division in the European Union, with the Germans pressing for a deal and the French saying no. So I think, you know, if you look at this objectively, a deal is good for the UK, but it's also good for the European Union. And sensible people in the European Union say that. It seems to be that, if we can believe the reports, the reason the talks have broken down is because of last-minute demands by France, which are wholly unreasonable.
So let me put what John Shirley said. I mean, we are now just less than 4 weeks away from this. He's a guy that's worked in that industry, and he says, look, we are not ready in terms of customs paperwork that has been a thing of the past for decades. Are you going to own that if such disruption materialises on the 1st of January or later?
Well, I sit on the European committee that looks at the future relationship, the Select Committee, and we've taken evidence on this. And the trade bodies and the customs agents say they're prepared. I think it's
enough customs agents, are there?
I think it's very hard to believe that for 4 years, industry has not made contingency plans for whichever outcome, whether it's a deal or a no deal.
Well, let me put that to John Shirley. John Shirley, this is on you. You should have known the flavour, the type of Brexit we were heading for, certainly over the last year. This is on you and your industry.
Oh, is it? Well, how can I put it? None of us can really believe anybody is taking this particular path. It is economic suicide. It's just absolute madness, you know, to erect barriers to trade. And particularly in a big trading country like this one of 70 million people, it's just unbelievable.
Should you not have been more prepared? Should you not have known we're leaving the single market?
No,
we're leaving the customs union. Been obvious for 12 months at least.
Let's look at it from our point of view. So if we employed those 10,000 clerks on this side of the channel, would there be 10,000 employed on the other side of the channel? Because that is our entry and exit point from Europe, okay? And I don't see that happening. I've spoken to French agents over there. I asked them, are you working 24/7? They say, no, we're working 9 to 5, don't work weekends. That's not going to cope with 13,500 trucks a day with an average of 7 consignments. That's 95,000 customs entries a day.
So, Peter Bone, right now, tonight, Prime Minister is facing a massive decision, about how far to go to get a deal. What are you willing to accept in terms of a compromise with Ursula von der Leyen tomorrow?
Well, I have complete confidence in Boris and David Frost. Since the election, they've done everything to deliver what the British people asked them for. And Boris will not come back to the British people with a bad deal. He'll either get a good deal, which is in our interest and also the EU's interest, or we'll have a no deal. So I have absolutely confidence in Boris, and I hope tomorrow that he'll be able to persuade the EU to do the deal that's been available for quite some considerable time.
So he doesn't have to compromise at all, Prime Minister?
I don't think it's not about compromise. You can't give away the basic principles, A, of the referendum, of course, but B, of the general election, which returned the Conservative government with such a big majority. As I say, I've been looking at the WhatsApp...
An oven-ready deal was the promise. Bruno Bonnell...
Well, it is an oven-ready deal if the EU accept it, of course.
The deal's in the oven, Bruno Bonnell. It's the French government that's come in with this notion of a veto at the last minute. What would you say to your President, Macron, about the compromises he would ask Ursula von der Leyen to make?
I think that President Macron has been fairly consistent all along this discussion, whereas Mr. Boris Johnson has changed his mind. And what he's revealing now is all the major impacts on everyday life for a lot of workers on both sides of the channel. So it's clear that the concessions are coming probably from the side has been that is the most impacted by the situation. And in this case, I believe that effectively France should probably keep the stance of protecting the EU territory as strongly as we can. And I know it's not fun. I know it's going to impact a lot of people in the UK, some people in Europe, but we strongly believe that this choice, that we have to respect has a price to pay.
And you would accept a no deal if as well?
Yeah, well, if worse come to worse, yeah, we'll go for a no deal, which is not probably the favorite choice of anyone. But again, you have to choose a size of the fence.
Right.
That's really where we're talking.
Well,
you cannot get the benefit.
We must leave it there.
Sorry?
Thank you very much, Bruno Bernal, Peter Bone, James Shirley. Not much sign of compromise there.